Okay, part 4. So here's what we're doing. We have a miniature screw set here. These vary in size from 1.6 millimeter to 4 millimeters long, all the way down to the very small end, which is 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters long. These are some tiny screws. I've actually gone on the very big end, so this is this first one, 1.6 by 4. That we're going to be looking at mounting into the side of this. Got a miniature screwdriver set here and a set of tweezers. So sorry if we bump the camera. We're going to be having a lot of action here to make sure it all fits. What I'm going to be doing is dry fitting this screw into this slot here, and if it fits, first off determining if it fits. I would actually say that's a pretty big fit. We might be able to actually go a tiny bit smaller on this one. It is proud of this. I also took the moment to wet this paper towel. Doing stuff like that prevents the screws from rolling around as much. So I'm going for a 1.2 with the shortest stem I can right now. This is just going to take a minute. We're just going to have to work through it here. Please forgive me. See, that's actually a lot more flush with the edge there. My concern is when you're dealing with something like this, I'm scared this is a larger hole here. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to reverse our grip on this. Screw head will not fit through that larger hole. Will not fit through that hole either. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the 1.2s on the top two rows of holes. Let me see if this 1.4 fits on the bottom row. Sits nice and flush with the outside edge there. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing a set of 1.4s and 1.2s on the top and 1.4s on the bottom. So I'm going to actually flip this back. I'm sorry, 1.6 is on the top. 1.6 is on the bottom. So that's what we're going to do. Got this thing set to 1.6. I've got some CA glue extra thick that I'm going to be putting in 3 holes at a time. Just the tiniest drop. That's it. And now we're going to mount the 3 screws in. Because there's not necessarily an opposing screw thread to this, nor is there a very thick material for the screw to bite into. Putting a drop of CA glue in there Oops, that thing stays still. As you can see, that one went in really loose because the hole is much looser. So, also the CA glue helps that if I don't drive the screw in all the way, say I stop short because the hole is really loose, and I do want to keep it flush with the top edge. Oh, that's a problem. That's the head of it laying in the CA glue. And this is the magic of CA, ladies and gentlemen. CA activates with water, and on your hands is water. That is why it is so easy to super glue your fingertips together. Is that your hands are basically the ultimate activator for super glue. All right, 3 more. CA medium. Sorry, I keep calling it CA. CA is the super bougie hobby term for super glue. It stands for cyanoacrylate glue, and that is the technical name for super glue. Now, super glue or CA glue comes in different thicknesses. I prefer extra thick because a lot of what I use it for is basing and modeling and stuff like that. And extra thick dries in about 30 seconds or less and will be fully set. I say fully with some air quotes around that in, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes. So it ends up being not something that I have to be concerned about working around in miniature hobby modeling. All right, first set done. Set this back to my 1.2s. I'm going to go with the shortest 1.2s. Ultimately, I don't need them to drive very far into the model. And I'm going to start with my most concerning customer here. Much easier than I thought. Just trying to get it even. There, got it. All right, hardest one is done. Moving on to the second hardest. Those two are just my biggest concerns because, you know, when you're dealing with stuff this small, I mean, not all 3D printers are necessarily suited for dealing with these microscopically small details. So remember, the head of this screw is, you know, just over 1 millimeter wide, and the hole that we're putting in is approximately the same. And yeah, it might have that level of detail overall. And most people will kind of shrug or not blink an eye at the differences in something of this level of detail, but as you can see that a lot of these holes are too big for these screws. But really it's about matching the screw head. Well, looks like we are going to need a screwdriver for it. It's about matching the screw head to the scale of the model. Well, the hole is not even big enough. Then it is matching the screw thread and the instinct here is to wipe that off. There's a tiny little drop of CA glue. I'm going to completely avoid that urge and just let it dry with a glob of CA glue on there. My fear is that anything I try and wipe that off with will do more damage than just ignoring the problem. So we're just going to ignore the problem. See, every single one of these was too loose. I'm going to rock this screw back a tiny bit. Rock it actually kind of upwards towards the tippy top. All right, last set. We're just doing it like this. Five, 6, 7, 8. Get the lid back on that as quick as possible, so we're not sitting here huffing CA glue. Should do the smart thing and probably just put this whole thing inside the tray. There's a good part and a bad part about CA glue. CA is not a great large gap filler. It's great for filling small gaps. But not great for filling large gaps like some of these holes. So probably have to come back through after the fact. Make sure they're mounted secure enough. Now, that being said, simultaneously perfect and not good for varying reasons on this application. And the perfect is that it only needs a very thin contact layer, which we're going to be getting between the bottom of the screw head and the outer edge of that hole. And there's a tiny bit of CA on the back of my tweezers is causing some problems here. Two left. That is why we keep these screws in secondary containment here. That's it. Now we gotta get this shut, screws shut, so that no accidents can happen. Clean out, make sure our screwdriver has no problems with it. Got that out of the way. Paintbrush out of the way. We're going to keep everything organized here. The last thing I'm going to do is take and very quickly take a razor blade, go over many of the surfaces of my tweezers. And take care of any CA on there. So I'm just putting this all back in its brush holster here. And so that is great. The screws are in there. They look good. The thing is, they are a little bit metallic. You can see that guy shining in the light right now as I move this. So what I'm going to be doing, and this part is a doozy. So I'm going to take down my finishing kit. So this is my finishing kit here. It has things like files, different screwdrivers, awls, and then this is a variety of chemicals that give you brain damage. And sorry, I'm going to be putting a mask on for this. I'll still try and continue to talk, though it's going to sound terrible. Okay, got the mask on. What we're going to be doing is taking a tiny bit of dull coat lacquer. Now, dull coat is from a company called Testors, which is very big in the miniature modeling industry. And dull coat is very famous for absolutely just obliterating any shine, any color that a mini could have. So this could be the mini itself. This could be maybe you put a varnish on it, and your mini 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So maybe your varnish job came out a little bit on the glossy side. There's 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So maybe your varnish job came out a little on the glossy side. This will basically eliminate that gloss. So just putting layer after layer of it on our screw heads right now. It doesn't take a lot. I'm not going overboard. And as you can see, it's basically completely knocking back the metallic shine on these screw heads. So this mask. 8. Yeah, oh God. You're going to get the lid back on this thing as fast as possible. Oh boy, will it do a number. This is mineral spirits. This is the safe indoor stuff, and this is the full strength stuff. It's in a dropper bottle, so I can run it through my airbrush when I use it in varnishing my minis. So always save old paintbrushes. They come in perfect. You see this guy here doesn't have much life left to him, so it's perfect for things like applying that dull coat. Now, you can see a lot of that shine has kind of come off of that. I'm going to compare that to screw. Let me take this away. So here's a screw with its full shine on it compared to the screw without it. So it's still metal, so light will still reflect off of it, but it's a huge difference as to the actual shine that the metal's giving off. Oh, okay, we're getting rid of that. And that's it. So that's the mini Nuke done. We're going to hit it with probably 2 coats of varnish I like to use for this application. Vallejo's polyurethane matte varnish. We'll be doing this one with an airbrush. Separate video. It's not that interesting to listen to because it's mostly just an airbrush compressor running, so we're not going to include that in the video, but we'll put it as a supplemental part if you're interested. With that, that is the build of the mini nuke for my coworker Hubi, and like I said, stick around if you want to see the airbrushing.